or video. So already we have a big update to the Blu-ray drive exploit, which is actually a release of the Blu-ray drive exploit. If you don't know what this is, I recommend checking my previous video where I did a whole kind of news primarily talking about this new Blu-ray exploit that was discovered by developer Gazine or Dazini, who has come up with at least a couple of Blu-ray exploits at this point. So what we can see here is that we have this new release here from the developer BDJ up to 12.50. So it says BDJ for up to PS for firmware 12.50. Originally, it said that this might be the exploit that was reported by the Flow, which was then patched in 12.52. But since then, it's been updated to say that actually no. The Flow just confirmed that this is not his exploit. So just take my early Christmas gift and no, this will not work on the PS5. So this is for PS4 only. So this is a userland exploit that can be triggered from the Blu-ray drive, which can be used to, of course, jailbreak the PS for up to 12.02 when it is eventually combined with the lab's kernel exploit, which probably won't take too long because it does look like a pretty fully featured Blu-ray exploit in its current state. So this is some pretty exciting news here. Now, what's interesting about this? In my last video, I said the new Blu-ray exploits that this developer discovered, it apparently works on all firmwares. So it would actually be better for them not to release and that keep that private for future jailbreaks. And instead, hopefully, we get the Flow's exploit, which is likely to be patched in 12.52 already. So that would be the better one to get released, because we could use that one to jailbreak up to 12.0 with the current jailbreaks, and then save the one that works on higher firmware. Jailbreaks, that would be the best situation, and that seems to be the situation, because this version is not the version that works on like all the new firmwares. One. This is the one that works up to 12.50. Now the developer here did state earlier that I covered in the previous video that they thought they knew what the Flow's exploit was as well. So they had their own Blu-ray exploit that works on all firmwares. But they also, I thought, they had an idea of what the Flow's exploit was actually using. And that's the version that they've released here. And this GitHub release that works up to 12.50. And that is likely patched in 12.52. But we'll test that, but it turns out they were actually wrong about that being the same exploit that the Flow discovered, because the Flow confirmed that that's not his exploit. So that could mean that there's actually 3 potential Blu-ray exploits. This one that's been released, the one that works on all firmwares, that's not been released yet. And of course the Flow's one as well. So there could be potentially 3 at this point. Who knows, it's getting a little bit crazy. So at the moment, this is just a userland exploit on its own. It's not been chained with the lab's kernel exploit yet to run the jailbreak, although I suspect we will see that fairly soon. So all we've got at the moment is this hello world and notification. That's all the ISO does at the moment. Print a notification on screen to show it's working. So all you do is download the ISO file. Write it to a disk by burning it via a program like Image Burn. You just select the option to write image file to drag in the ISO into the software. Put in a blank Blu-ray disc. And yes, it does need to be a Blu-ray disc and not a CD or DVD. And then simply burn it to the disc if you have a Blu-ray burner. And that is how you get that on there. And then once you have that written to the disc, you can put it into your PlayStation for now. You can also get the remote logging working as it states here. You can change the status.java file in the ISO, and then edit the IP address too. You know your computer's IP address. Rather than do that though, I just went ahead and set my computer's IP address to the same IP as the default, which is 192.168.dot to just by opening up the network connections here on my computer. Right-clicking on my Ethernet adapter, going to properties, and then of course setting the internet protocol version for address to the same default address 192.168.dot to .1, setting the subnet, and then basically doing the same thing on the PS4 in the network settings and setting its IP address to 192.168.dot just so that they can communicate and they have the same IP. And that way I'll be able to get the log without having to modify the ISO. So to give this a test run, I have SoCat for Windows here. I'll leave this in the description, along with the other stuff that I'm using. And we can get the log using this by entering this command, ./socat.x-v for verbose mode, udp-receive, and then :181, 9 for which is the port number for the logging, and then std out. So once that is done, you are good. You can press enter and that will be running. And now if I switch over to my console, we should be ready to load up this userland exploit. So this console is on firmware 12.02 as you can see here. So 12.0 to firmware. And what we'll do is we'll run the Blu-ray disc and see if we can get this userland exploit and then working. Of course, we'll also test it on a 12.52 and see if it has actually been patched on 12.52. So let's go ahead and run this. So we'll run the Blu-ray disc. So we get a black screen, and then if I switch over to my desktop, you will be able to see the log. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just go back to the PS for itself, so you can see the notification Hello World, and if I go back to the computer, this is the log. As you can see, we've got triggering the sandbox escape exploit. disposing window invoking creates let. Getting class loader, we've got disabling the security manager. Then the exploit succeeded, and we got a sandbox escape achieved. And then it grabs the kernel send notification address. So it can actually send that notify message, which it then sends there the hello world message, and then you can see we've got a calling the function. The buffer address, the buffer size, and function return 0. So yeah, there we go. That is it, and obviously, it's not loading anything because we don't actually have an exploit. We don't have a kernel exploit that it's loading right now. That will change fairly soon, once we get the last kernel exploit being triggered with this, okay? So now let's try a 12.52 system. Apparently, this should only work up to 12.50. So theoretically, it shouldn't work on 12.52. But let's go ahead and give it a try anyway, and so we'll launch the Blu-ray disc. And I am also running the log here to see if we get any information pop up. So far, nothing. Oh, yep, okay, well, it didn't work. We never got any notification on the console, and let's see. We've got triggering sandbox escape exploit. Disposing window. Invoking creates let, and then there is an error in init. Let access denied. Look at that access denied with the Java access control exception. So I guess that might be something to do with what discovered where he compared the Java security file and saw that there were additional packages that were protected in 12.50 to that were not protected in previous firmware. And it looks like that's why this doesn't work on 12.52. Because as you can see, we get access denied with the Java security access control exception. So yeah, there you go. Doesn't work on 12.52. But apparently the developer, Gazino, has another Blu-ray exploit that works on all firmware. That is not yet released, and then that's the one that we might be able to use on future jailbreaks. New jailbreak comes out for 12.52. So yeah, very exciting. We now have a new Blu-ray drive exploit that can be used to load the existing jailbreaks without requiring a Lua game. Without those Japanese games that are unfortunately cost quite a lot of money or are out of stock and hard to get a hold of. It's gonna be much easier to get Blu-ray discs. Even if you don't have a Blu-ray burner, or it's too expensive for you to get a Blu-ray burner. There will be other people reselling discs that are already prepared, and you could just get one of those instead. And yeah, we'll probably end up seeing something very similar to the Lua game, with the auto Lua loader, but for the Blu-ray drive instead, where you just launch the Blu-ray disc and it runs everything for you. The full chain exploit with the labs kernel exploit, and then closes the displayer automatically, and you're back on the homepage with Gold Hand running. That would be the ideal situation. So hopefully we'll see that